Alright, this lesson is for Math Expressions, Chapter 5, Lesson 3, which is about units of time. So the standard units of time that we're going to be talking about are the normal ones that most of the kids obviously already know. They know that there are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes an hour, and so on and so forth. So we use this chart to do our conversions with our time. So very much like what we were doing with a metric system of measurements. Now we're doing it with time. So if I want to know how many hours are in a day or in 2 days and so on and so forth, I just have to figure out, once again, how many hours are in one day. So if I know that there are 24 hours in one day, then to figure out how many are in 2, you just take the 24 hours in 1 and you multiply that by 2. So 24 times 2 is 48. And you go back up to the basic and you say, okay, well, if I know that there are 24 hours in one day, I want to know how many hours are in 3 days. Well, you take the 24 hours and you multiply by 3. And, you could scratch this off on a scrap piece of paper or wherever, do a quick area model or whatever you want to do, but 24 times 3 is 72. And then follow the same kind of patterns to figure out how many hours are in 4 days. You take 24 hours and multiply by 4. And 24 multiplied by 4 is 96. So it's just, once again, kind of converting a bigger unit or a larger unit into a smaller unit, and we do that by multiplying. So now minutes and hours. So now this, of course, we know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So once again, we use that basic knowledge of conversions to multiply for the rest. So if I know there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, then to get 3 hours, I just do 60 times 3, which is going to be 180. And then if I want to figure out how many minutes are in 5 hours, I take 60 minutes and multiply by 5, which is 300. So there are 300 minutes in 5 hours. And then last but not least is 60 minutes in 1 hour. So in 7 hours, I do 60 times 7, which is 420. So once again, I'm taking that basic knowledge and that basic relationship, and I'm multiplying that 60 by the 3, by the 5, by the 7, and that's how I'm getting my answers. So here's an interesting one. Okay, so how many days are in 16 weeks, right? So we think, okay, well, we know that in 1 week there are 7 days. So if we know this basic relationship, then I can use that to solve how many days are in 16 weeks. So anytime I go from a big unit like weeks to a smaller unit like days, I'm going to multiply. So this is 16 times 7. So 16 is 10 plus 6, and 7 is 7. So for my partial products, I'm going to get 70 and 42. And then, of course, just like normal, you just add them up. And so 70 plus 42 is going to give me 112. So because of my relationships and because of my multiplication, I can figure out that there are 112 days in 16 weeks. A new interesting idea is introduced in this lesson, which is the idea of line plots. And we are going to be able to do line plots with a bunch of fractions of an hour. So they usually give the kids a situation, like for example, this is how much time kids spent reading. So if we were to collect data, we would find out that 2 kids right here have read for a quarter of an hour. So all we have to do is to plot that data. I use little x's to stack up. So I would put 2 x's above the quarter hour. So that just tells me, of course, from the line plot that there are two kids that read for 1/4 of an hour or a quarter of an hour. According to our data table, that we have 5 kids that were read for a half an hour. So I put 5 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yeah, it's really kind of easy just to do. And so once again, you just kind of find your data, and 3/4 of an hour, 4 kids did that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for 1 full hour of reading, we had 4 more kids do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just gotta match up what the data table is telling you with the fractions of your hours down below, and you just draw up x's to make a line plot. So the reason why we do these, and the whole point behind it, is because it's really easy to read that data looking at that line plot. So obviously, if I asked a question to the kids like, okay, tell me something true about this data. Well, they could say a lot of things. They could say that least amount of kids read for 1/4 of an hour. They could say that the same amount of kids read for 3/4 of an hour and for an hour. They could easily say that most kids read for a half an hour. A lot of different things that you can interpret and learn from this type of data. So line plots are going to help them do that, and we're going to be using those in class. So that about does it for time.